So at the start of week 5, I was inspired by, I don't know how to say his name, Bartholomew Togu. He did like these prints using like wood that he had like etched into to carve like words into it, and I thought that would be a really nice way for like to like hold to like frame the words for my poems and stuff. So I focused on the words for my poem, like the extract, a debris of memory scattered like glitter. And so the log that I used previously in my work, I made a frottage of. And although you can sort of see like the saw lines of where it was cut, you can still see the age rings, which I really enjoy. And so I then photocopied these 3 times and focused on debris of memories as like the main part of this experiment. So I put each word in the center of the each part of the log, and I really enjoy like the red color because although I did try it with black and white, but it just kind of got lost in the monochromatic elements of the actual frottage. So I really enjoy the red, and I think it like really stands out, and like that color scheme is really like important. And then I thought about the second part, which is scattered like glitter. So I sized them down quite a bit to fit in the palm of my hand because this was originally this size, which is the size of the original log. And so then I photocopied each log frottage with each word, I think 6 times each in that small scale. And then I just played around with sort of like scattering them, like I said, like glitter. So I made them small, and that's all one word, that's all one word. So sort of like, so as you look through like the scattered circles, you can see each word. And also that idea of a circle was continued from that pattern experiment I did previously from the mold on trees. So that's why I thought of like the age rings of logs as well, because it sort of like links to that repetitive nature that I was looking at. And then I also just made an experiment just looking at one word. So this is just memories. This is sort of like a debris of memories scattered like glitter, just using that one word memory. I quite like this, and I quite enjoy how simple it is and how it directly relates to my. And then I brought the small scale photocopies into my space. This is in the forest. So these are the large scale ones on a path, and these are my smaller scale ones scattered across the path in the forest, which I really enjoy. Then looking to a book by Luke Turner called Out of the Woods that I've read, I was focusing on like this idea that using a forest as like a safe space, and how it's like a quite a common queer space for people when they are like dealing with like figuring out who they are and like accepting their sexuality and stuff, which I definitely used the forest that I've chosen for definitely a lot myself, using the same sort of like context. And I also just enjoy how he worded the book and used elements of when he was explaining himself, and you couldn't tell if he was explaining himself or the forest, and it sort of like merged into one, where he almost became the forest, and I really enjoyed that. So I really wanted to kind of like merge my words with the place almost like seamlessly, without it being like too invasive. So I got this gum tape, and I got it because it looks most like paper and it sticks with water. So I wrote my poems onto 3 different rolls of this tape, and one was about each place. So one about my bedroom, one about my road sign, and one about the forest. No, one about the alleyway and one about the forest. And I stuck them around this tree, so I just wrapped it. And I really enjoy how you have to like physically walk around the tree to like really understand the poem, and also just because how it sits in nature, it looks so strange and unusual. And I was inspired by Olsen Zander's tree wrapping technique as well. So I moved on to kind of like trying to wrap multiple trees at once, and I found this a little less successful. But I did enjoy how this, again, you have to like move through the space to read it. And then I also did one in the alley, and I really like this one because it sort of like merges, it goes all the way down the alley. So it starts from one lamppost and crosses all the way to the last lamppost down the alley. And I really enjoy how it's only lit from the street light. So this whole centre section is completely blacked out. So you miss a whole segment of the poem, which I just really thought was quite interesting and created a weird, like, unusual effect. I also waited a week and then came back to see if, like, I left these in these places to see how they deteriorated over time, but that was, like, unsuccessful and they didn't look that different, or if they did look different, they didn't look as successful as I'd hoped they'd look. So then I thought about, again, this idea of, like, seamlessly joining my words into the forest, and I found these few, like, cut down tree parts, and I thought about writing my words directly onto them. But after reflection, this feels quite, like, invasive, and I'm not sure I enjoy or feel very, like, proud of this, because it feels sort of like vandalism, and I don't really I don't want that to be my work, because I want it to be like raw and, like, nice, rather than it being this sort of, like, invasive thing. So I just used pen here, and that's another thing. You can see from the saw lines of where the tree had been cut, it sort of, like, made my words rigid, because I was using a paint pen. So I think if I was to do this again, I would have used paint, like, directly, like with a paintbrush, but I don't think I will do this again, because this felt a bit too like, exploitative of the forest, of the place. I then thought about using, like, my own personal collections and how they could, like, fill the gaps in the forest. So I made a video here which is all about explaining my my collection of sort of, like, trinkets, like rocks and just small pocket-sized things that I've collected over, like, a lot of years that I've sort of, like, falsely connected to different places, even though most of the things I found are either from, like, a beach or the forest floor, and or just the floor when I'm walking, like, down the pavement and things. But in my head, I've sort of, like, linked them to these special places. So I just went ahead and kind of, like, found ones that fit in the gaps of this log here, and I really, really enjoy how this looks, and it's sort of, like, is quite, like, fantastical and sort of, like, again, surreal. Looking at, like, this filling the negative space in the forest with myself, which was inspired by Rachel Whiteread, I've kind of, like, filled this big opening in this tree with my own body, and, like, the opening from when this tree fell over with my own body. And I enjoyed this concept, but I don't think I fulfilled it properly. Like, it didn't really work as well as I'd hoped it to, but I'm glad I experimented it, because it it creates a nice effect. Anyway, while I was walking in the forest one day, I found a fallen bird's nest on the path, and so I took it home and sort of, like, filled it with all my trinkets that I was telling you about, and like, a photo of a place, just to, like, one of my vintage postcards that I've also got a collection of. And I was just thinking about how it can sort of, like, a bird's nest can almost sort of, like, store and, like, hold all my trinkets, almost like a magpie. And I just really enjoy how this works. And then I moved on to putting my words in the bird's nest. And again, I really, really enjoy how this looks, because it's bringing my words into nature using a direct link. And I really enjoy this. I also really enjoy how this works, sort of, like, creates the idea that there's, like, a creature or a beast that's actually stealing my memories rather than the place itself. So it's, like, another like, being or thing that's in this place that's taking these memories from me. And then, inspired by Gordon Matta Clark's art video where he cut an entire house in half, and I was really focusing on how the light sifted through this gap that he created. I made, like, a documentation of the light in my 3 different places, so in my bedroom, the forest, and the alleyway, just to sort of, like, see, like, their similarities and differences. And I enjoyed, like, the glare that was created by the sun and the lamppost that were really, really similar. And I really enjoy how, like, in my poems I say the word synthetic sunset when I'm talking about the orange of, like, glow of the streetlights. And it really connects, and I really enjoy that. I also enjoyed the fact that my bedroom and the alleyway had these elements of still light, and the forest had, like, a constantly moving light through the wind, like, moving the trees and stuff. And then I made these, like, quick experiments with, like, looking at bringing my words into the light to sort of use the light as, like, a physicality of my memories. But this wasn't as successful, but I think I could definitely explore this further. And I think light is definitely something that I want to focus on and use a lot when I'm experimenting with my work in these next few weeks. So over the last week of Easter as well, I visited the Natural History Museum just to kind of look at this idea again about birds' nests and try and get some context for that. And I really found it really it was really, really good to go and see it because I learned about this thing where birds' nests use rubbish to make their nests. And I just found that really interesting. But also the missing link bird, I really enjoy because it's that sort of element of mystery about what my creature could be that's stealing my trinkets. And then also my mother's maiden name is Crow, so that was one of my initial ideas for this project was um focusing on that. And I just went to the Natural History Museum expecting to see with all these birds there was pigeons and seagulls. I was like, okay, so there'll be crows and magpies, and there wasn't at all. This was the only part in the whole museum, this whole section of birds, that had a crow, and there was not a single magpie, which I found quite interesting because it's that mystery about what could be taking these trinkets. I also found out about lichens, which is what the original polka dot mold that was growing on the trees was, and I really enjoy it because it showed you you can tell how old the tree is or how old the lichens have been living on the tree for by the size. So yeah, it was just kind of interesting because you can see that the trees that I was looking at were 25 to 50 years old, which is crazy. I also went to the V&A gallery and I visited the strange photography section, which was really, really beneficial to me because focusing on photography for the start of this project was a big thing for me. So I just found all these contexts that would work really well for my past work and also future work if I choose to continue to work with photography. So Rinko Kawauchi, I can't say that name, did this photo where it's looking at how light reflects in a space. And I really enjoy, this is one of my own photos, which I was thinking about exploring, which is how the street lights, how the street lamps light is held on the branches of the trees, at nighttime especially, because it sort of creates this surreal, lit effect, which I really, really enjoy. And then also, this was an artist called Daphne Talmor who did these bleached collages of her photos of landscapes, which sat perfectly with my work. And then also just Mitch Epstein's photo of a tree leaning on this giant cement block, which I just found really interesting because it's just quite an industrial, hard and solid, man-made thing that's completely helping such a natural and raw, probably a really, really old tree, which I just found a really nice link.